9 weeks, 5 episodes. Season 6 of Deep Space Nine is generally considered one of the best, if not the best, season of Star Trek ever made. And it contains two of the very best episodes of TV ever made, Far Beyond the Stars and In the Pale Moonlight. And they aired within 2 months of each other. I don't know what they were feeding the writers in that writers' room that spring, but it must have been really good. This is the review of Champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of Taylor. How are you?
I am great.
And Merv. How are you?
It was 1997, so probably a lot of Surge, if anybody remembers that.
It was the spring of 1998, but thank you. But okay, this is episode 27 of the Star Trek project, where we will be reviewing Star Trek, all of it in order of release. Kinda. Today we're talking about Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 6, as mentioned before. But before we do that, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you really can't get enough of us, and I can imagine you can't, you can join our ranks. Go to Sakar at sakar.freeforms.net, set up an account, get to know us, and yes, you can join us in our shows. We would love it if you do that, really. As we mentioned before, we will be discussing the 26 episodes of Season 6 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And let's dive into it with our section called Grandmaster Picks. And in Grandmaster's Picks, I, Grandmaster, get to pick a few episodes which the champions have to discuss before they can pick their episodes which they would like to discuss. Well, I have promised my champions that I would focus on the overarching story, I should say. And for this month, I have chosen Favor the Bold, Sacrifice of Angels, which basically is a double episode, In the Pale Moonlight, which I mentioned in my opening, and Tears of the Prophets. And I'm gonna go start with Merv this time, our Star Trek rookie. Okay, I just mentioned in my opening that I personally consider, and I'm not the only one, Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 6, maybe even the best season of Star Trek ever made. Can you agree up until this point?
I do agree up until this point, for sure. Just these first 6 episodes alone, the story that's told there about basically the Dominion War and then the retaking of Deep Space Nine from the Dominion hands is just so edge of your seat. Like, this probably isn't the first time I was like super hooked in my Star Trek journey, but like I remember vividly like coming in from work and being like really excited to see what the next episode was, and it feels like it's been a while since that happened. So yeah, really great stuff, especially in the beginning of the season. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. I, for one, chose in that opening story of 6 episodes, the last two, Favor the Bold and Sacrifice of Angels, because basically it's the retaking of Deep Space Nine. What do you have to say about these 2 episodes?
Yeah, I think they're great. I mean, essentially, it's the capstone of the arc that I just described, which is like this, brief exchange in the Dominion War. Favor the Bold, I think I might prefer this one a little bit more, and I don't know if it's because of the tension surrounding the buildup of the plan to retake everything. There's a lot of moving parts here. You've got Rom as a prisoner. You've got Kira and Quark basically trying to get him out, along with some other characters. You've got Odo, who is just totally sidetracked by female changeling. And really, I'll just say, this is probably the moment that up till this point, Odo was like really one of my favorites, and I understand its character growth and its trouble and all that stuff, but like after this, I just could never look at them the same, because he became a liability to his friends, even if it was just for a brief moment. And it's just like, and in retrospect, it's like I can see it all starts here for me, as far as my opinion on Odo. Which is still good, but it's just like these episodes are like frustrating for me to watch it from an Odo fan perspective, because up until this point he was great, and then all this. I love the setup. I love the race against time, because the Dominion. I love the dynamics of the Dominion here as well. The Wayun, Dukat, Damar, Cardassian whole thing, and how like the female changeling is just not above using everyone in. She doesn't really care if they pit each other against one another or whatever, as long as they win in the end. Um, all great stuff, all great conversations, and then Sacrifice of the Angels is where you see everything happen. You see all the battle and everything, and then huge, awesome moment with Cisco and the Prophets, where you really start to feel the weight of that thing, which has been going on since episode 1 of this series, essentially. Where he's a prophet, but like a lot of times doesn't really factor in. Well, now it's like factoring in because it's directly in the way. Like his he needs to do this for the Federation, and the Prophet's like, well, whatever, and he's like, no, that's not how this is going to go. Like, if you want to be gods, prove yourself as gods here and help me out. I need some help here. I really love that scene from him to basically put his foot down against these ridiculously powerful beings and actually win that argument. And then, of course, like the big end moment with Damar shooting Zial, spoiler, and then Dukat's reaction to that was all like it was great, but it was also like heart wrenching, because I really started to like Zial as a character, and I love the dynamic between Dukat and Kira through Zial. I'm saying the name right, Zial. Yeah.
Torazio, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So the fact that she's a casualty here, it hurts. It hurts on multiple fronts, and essentially begins the spiral of Ducat down an unforgivable path. Essentially, so really great stuff. Really great capstone to this like mini arc, I guess you'd call it, in this Dominion saga. You want me to keep talking about the other ones as well, or do you want to?
Well, first I want to make a remark. You're an Odo fan. You just said so, and
Mm-hmm.
then you changed your opinion, or at least it was watered down a little bit,
Yes.
if I may say so. But that's the great thing about Deep Space Nine. There is no good and evil here. There are different shades of gray, and some are more darker gray and some are more lighter gray. But there's nobody comes out of this series clean with completely clean hands. And Odo, he that this is the moment where Odo becomes contaminated, if you know what I mean. So it's just a part. It's supposed to happen in this show.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's totally interesting from a character perspective, but like it's just like one of those things that like I don't know. I guess it
Yeah,
it was almost too tainted for me moving forward, that like
yeah.
I couldn't help but think about it.
But we have seen Odo do questionable things in the Cardassian time when it was Terranor as well. So it's not like it's uncharacteristically or
Sure.
something. Absolutely. Um, then I move on to what is generally considered in the fandom the best episode of Deep Space Nine, which I picked, is In the Pale Moonlight. I don't think it's the best episode. I really hope one of you guys pick my favorite episode, and otherwise I'll just throw it in at the end. But In the Pale Moonlight is the episode where Cisco and Garrick try to get the Romulan Star Empire into the war on the side of the Federation and the Klingon Empire. And fun and games, man, fun and games. How did you see this episode?
I loved it. I thought it was amazing. The immediate I don't know, framing of the storytelling where essentially Cisco is breaking the fourth wall, like almost talking to us as an audience, as he's telling the computer as like a journal entry or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially he's talking. It feels like he's talking to us, telling this story, and it's basically Cisco recognizing that he corrupted himself. Even further. I mean, he's another character who's done some questionable things. Even recently poisoning a planet and that sort of thing. But this is definitely it feels like a self-professed bridge too far for him, and it's so interesting to me that he essentially reaches out to Ducat for Ducat's assistance and advice and help.
Garrick, you mean?
Or yeah, I'm sorry, Garrick. And Garrick is basically like, "Are you sure?" Because Garrick knows what it takes. He knows what Cisco wants to do, but even Garrick knows that like this might not be the what Cisco wants it to be. And then, of course, Cisco essentially feels the guilt of just how far he went over the line of morality within the Federation, his just his whole entire integrity as a character,
Mm-hmm.
what he compromised to essentially score a point in the Dominion War. It might be a big point. It probably leads to saving lives, but in the end, he says something about it himself, where like a guilty conscience is worth it. Like the ends justify the means there.
Yeah.
But you can tell it's him trying to convince himself of that. Like he doesn't fully believe it, or at least that's the vibe you get. That like he has to tell himself several times that this is worth it. This is worth it
He
because
can
he
live with
feels
it.
so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it was great. I thought it was an awesome episode.
Yeah, but that actually that's a little scene is also on YouTube, and I regularly rewatch it when Garrick tells Cisco, "Okay, all it cost was this, 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 and this," and I think that's a bargain. I think that is actually sums this episode up in a perfect way, because basically, yeah, yes, you compromise yourself, but the gains, the means, and the justify what is it? The end must justify the means. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I also picked the Tears of the Prophet. Um, Tear of the Prophet. That's the final episode of the season,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you knew it before you went in. What would happen in this final episode? Uh,
it feels like it's been so long. I don't remember if I had it spoiled for me or if I knew ahead of time or anything like that. But it was still, a bit of a shock to another character that I really adored through these seasons. In I guess the Jadzia Dax. I still enjoy Dax after this because, of course, Dax is never ending. But um, yeah, the big memory of this is essentially did it happen in this episode where uh, Ducat gets possessed by power wraiths? That was this episode, right?
yeah, by
Yes.
a power wraith. Yeah,
By a power wraith. In hindsight, now having finished season 7, like this is really the start of that whole thing with him. Um, or a big moment for that whole thing with him, and the fact that he's the one who kills Jadzia hurts and really makes him up here as far as the villain in the final season for sure. Yeah, it was an emotional moment for Jadzia, for Worf, for Cisco too, because he had to make a hard decision here that he wasn't even sure about. So yeah, this was a really cool cliffhanger, a really interesting cliffhanger that puts a lot of characters in an interesting spot going into the final season. So yeah, I had some respect for this
yeah.
episode.
Okay. I'm gonna. You can start thinking about your favorite episodes, which you want to discuss. I'm moving on to Taylor because also Taylor has to sign off on these episodes, even though you did an excellent job. But Taylor is a Star Trek veteran, so I'm gonna lead with the same question I asked you in the beginning, Taylor. I consider Star Trek Deep Space Nine season 6 maybe even the best season of Star Trek ever. Can you agree?
It's up there. It is definitely in the running for best season of Star Trek. If only it had the episode Spock's brain, then it would put it over the top. But
Or Sub Rosa from the Next
yeah,
Generation.
but it is a great season. As far as your stuff goes, as far as like Favor the Bold and Sacrifice of Angels, Merv covered them really well. They're two great episodes. It's a great moment in the story. The retaking of Deep Space Nine, the space battle, is really cool and edge of your seat and exciting. The stuff that's been going on Deep Space Nine, in addition to what Merv already talked about, is you got Kira and Rom and Quark, even to a degree, kind of doing their own little resistance inside the space station. And then when the battle happens in Sacrifice of Angels, they actually do what they can to assist, to help by sabotaging the station. One of my favorite moments in Favor the Bold, though, is when Kira beats the living shit out of Damar.
Yeah.
And Damar, and of course, in this season, of course, is when Damar becomes, a major character, slowly but surely. Prior to that, he's Ducat's little toady. But after he kills Zial and Ducat, which again was a great moment, and the performance by Ducat of him losing his connection to reality when his daughter dies was really good and really powerful. But yeah, I loved the part where he gets the snot kicked out of him.
Shout out to Marco Limo, who actually plays an excellent character throughout 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine Golden Cut. I think
Oh yeah,
when you put it, there's always a conversation who's the greatest villain of all time. Well, I will put Golden Cut right up there.
yep, absolutely. And of course, the part with the prophets saving the day, stopping the reinforcements coming in, which just kind of gives us a whole, another chapter of this war. A good part, which and the way this war goes is really aggravating to a degree, because there's it's so back and forth. We gain a little bit, we lose a little bit. We gain a little bit here, we get a victory here, we get a big loss over here, and it's just such a stalemate. And they do such a good job of telling us like how humongous the casualties are and how costly all of this is and how painful it is for everyone. But it just drags on and on. So yeah, and of course this is one of the key moments in the war.
Yeah.
Let's see the other ones.
Next month we will discuss. No doubt we'll discuss one episode which shows war on a planet or a rock or whatever in a very deep way. But
Right.
we'll leave that for next one. I think Deep Space Nine does an excellent job in portraying the horrors of war.
Yeah, they do. In the Pale Moonlight, I agree with Merv. It's a great episode, really well done. The way it was Cisco, entering his log and telling us what happened, and again, throughout the war, the sacrifices that have to be made, the things that have to be done, the unpleasant and sometimes horrible things that have to be done to win the war. And of course, Garrick. Garrick's a great character and he's a great actor. And of course, this is right up his alley, and Cisco has to turn to him for assistance.
Yeah.
And then the finale. The finale is a big one, and it's very interesting because all these horrible things happen to the show, to Deep Space Nine. Dax, of course, dying. The wormhole is closed. Cisco is cut off from the Prophets. But at the same time, in the war, the Federation wins a big victory in this episode, and they land troops in Cardassian soil for the first time. So it's really, a tale of two cities going on in this particular episode. One reference that was made in this episode, they referred to the Christopher Pike Medal of Honor. I thought that was cool. Cisco and Jake, of course, at the end return to Earth, which, of course, will pick up right where season 7 starts. So yeah, all in all, the two-parter and the other 3 great and important episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The first one that just immediately came to mind is The Sound of Her Voice, which is the second to last episode of the season, I think.
Oh.
Wait,
Yeah.
sorry to divert from the
Oh, no problem.
the first six for now. We'll come back to them.
Mhm.
But I don't really even know what. So in this episode, the Defiant gets a distress call. There's a woman captain named Lisa Cusack, a Starfleet officer who's stranded on a moon or whatever on a world by herself, and there's a high concentration of carbon dioxide. She has some medicine to sub it or make it go down or keep her alive or whatever, but time is a factor, and the medicine starts running low, and the whole time the Defiant is trying to get to her, and they realize that like time is a factor, and they're not going to make it, and so they're trying all these things to like put more power in the engine, and it's a real nice stress um, of them trying to race there the whole time too, because it's they don't want her to fall asleep and stuff like that because they don't want her to carbon dioxide or monoxide, whatever one. Um, so they're talking to her via the comms.
Mhm.
Cisco is, O'Brien is, Bashir is, and they're all kind of she's ranting and raving about this, that, and the other thing, but then they start using her as almost like a sounding board for their own problems. Cisco's having trouble with Cassidy. O'Brien's worried. That like the war is causing people to grow cold, and they're basically all just using her as a therapist almost, and it's really effective like bonding
Mhm.
for them in this character. And then her comms go silent, and they're worried that she's going to die. Okay, we're here, we're finally here, time is very important, blah blah blah. And then they get all the way down there, and they're they realize she's been dead for 3 years. In this, there's like a weird force around the planet that took her
Mhm.
transmitter and sent it back in time or ahead in time 3 years or whatever. In this whole this race and this fight and all this stress was essentially just all too late, and they take her back and they give her a nice burial, and in it essentially they treat her like they're burying a good friend because they spent however long they were traveling
Mhm.
bonding with her. And it hit me real hard of like there was never a chance that they were going to be able to save her, and I don't know why it affected me so much, but like it sucked. Like this was it not sucked as an episode, but like it's tragic. It's a tragedy that like it was doomed from the start, and then you get to know these characters. Like you get to know this situation and this woman who was on this planet. Like it messed with me so much that like I was thinking about it for days afterward, and I'm thinking about it just now. Bringing it back up, but like it was a really impactful episode for me as far
Mhm.
as like just the overall tone and everything like that. So I
Yeah.
loved it.
And another example of how well written season 6 was,
Mm-hmm.
because it's an excellent written episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with a great concept in it. So yeah, it's yeah, I totally understand why you picked this episode.
Thank you.
Taylor.
Okay, so in the first 6 episodes, there is one other episode I would mention. It's Behind the Lines, which is number 4.
Okay.
And so much happens in this episode. By the way, it's directed by LeVar Burton. Nice. But so much happens in this episode, partly because there's 2 storylines happening now. There's the stuff happening on the space station and the stuff that's happening off the space station where Cisco and Dax and everyone are. But off the space station, the Dominion has this giant sensor array that is telling them every move that the Federation makes, so that if they go on this secret mission to destroy it. On the space station, though, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. We find out that they're running out of the tetracell white drug that keeps the Jem'Hadar alive and under control. And some Cardassians are suggesting maybe we need to poison them before they lose control. And Kira and Ram overhear that and say, what would happen if the Jem'Hadar heard that the Cardassians were thinking about that? So sowing all the discontent in there. This is the episode where Odo links with the female shapeshifter founder, And of
Mm-hmm.
course, his loyalties are very torn. Kira, throughout these first few episodes, her loyalties are very torn too, because at first she wanted to just, maintain the peace and stay neutral like Bajor is supposed to be in this war. But she can't, so she is starting her own little resistance
Is this
there.
also the episode where she looks in the mirror at the beginning and at the end of the episode?
I think it is. I think so, if I
Yeah.
remember right. This is the episode where Damar comes up with the plan on how to deactivate the mines, and we find out that there are thousands of Jem'Hadar ships waiting to come through. Nog gets captured in this episode, which we'll follow up in later episodes. Odo is pretty much brainwashed at this point from linking with the founder.
Mhm.
And Cisco's promoted. Dax is commanding the Defiant. They lead the mission. They destroy the sensor array, but I can't remember all the technical jargon. They lost their warp drive or something, and they're basically trapped behind enemy lines. It'll take them years to to get back to where they're going. That's where it all ends. So it's a huge episode with a whole lot uh, fit in, very well paced into the 1 hour episode.
Absolutely. Okay, Murph. I hope you have another one.
I sure do. Okay, another one from the first six, Rocks and Shoals. Cisco crash lands on a planet. There's a Jem'Hadar Dominion ship that is also crash landed. There's some altercations that happen. Essentially, there's a Vorta with the Dominion ship that is injured and needs assistance. So there's Nog and Garrick get captured, and then there's a trade for Bashir's services to help the Vorta. And I don't remember how exactly it happens, but the Vorta essentially meets with Cisco and discusses that they're going to run out of Ketracel White. So before that happens, we need to get out of there. So he is basically willing to sacrifice his Jem'Hadar by sending them blindly into an attack, letting Cisco know about it ahead of time so he can put his guns in position and just take them all out.
Mhm.
If they, treat him and take him out of there and just capture him as a prisoner. And it's just like everything about it, like where Cisco just, I mean, obviously is affronted at the lack of honor, that is shown here. The fact that you would kill your own men just to guarantee your own safety is beyond him. But also the Jem'Hadar kind of suss it out, but they're I guess I don't know what you call it, like blind loyalty to the Dominion hierarchy, just says, okay, I guess we're running straight into our death today, and they do, and they, the
Because
Cisco and
that's the
company,
order of things.
because that's the order of that's the
That's the
way
order of
that's the
things.
way everything works. So if we're supposed to do this, we're going to do this, and they all get annihilated, and it's like this, kind of sad moment, but it's like, yeah, what are you going to do? You can't let them run up here and kill you. So there we go. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I can't
that's.
remember.
I was hoping you guys would pick this one because it just shows one, the honor of the Jem'Hadar, that they actually have honor. They are being controlled by the Ketracel White, but you also almost consider that they may not have to be controlled by a drug, but because, and also the dishonor of the Vorta. And it leads into one of my absolute favorite Ferengi episodes of all time. And Taylor is already nodding. An homage to the Magnificent Seven, but is in this case the Magnificent Ferengi, where they go to Empoknor to do a trade-off for this Vorta for Mugi, but then the Vorta dies. And it's a hilariously funny but amazing episode with of course Jeffrey Combs as Bront comes back, and cousin Gala, and one psychopath Ferengi who doesn't care about profit but just wants to kill people, and of course Rom, Nog, and Quark. And then they end up with the other Vorta that came to do the trade being taken prisoner and given back to the Federation. I absolutely love this episode, and The Rocks and Shoals, the episode you mentioned, Merv, leads right into this. It's an amazing episode. And, that I love it that you have like an episode like Merv mentioned where you have like a very deep psychological episode, but you also have the humor episodes, and then you have a war going on, and a lot of political intrigue and religious stuff. It's such an amazing show. Have I mentioned that I consider Star Trek Deep Space Nine the best show of all time? Here again. A few times. Taylor, you had some time to think about another episode.
Yeah, well, the Magnificent Ferengi was on my list.
Sorry.
Especially how they do the weekend at Bernie's with the dead Vortas to do the trade.
Yeah. Well,
all right, but there's lots of episodes to choose from in this season.
yeah.
I'll go with one, His Way.
Yeah.
This is the episode, I believe this is the first episode where we meet Vic Fontaine.
Correct.
Who's one of the best characters ever. Self-aware, interactive hologram on the holodeck. Played by great James Darren, who not only was a singer, but he's also a great actor. He was in the Guns of Navarone and a lot of other movies, Gidget. And he co-starred, another Star Trek link, he co-starred with William Shatner in William Shatner's second best show, T.J. Hooker, in the 80s, which is a good show. All right. But Odo actually ends up going to him for advice on how to, get Kira. Odo's been pining for Kira for 6 seasons here and still pining for her. And he takes the advice and they actually end up getting together. And Odo gets some personality from the experience. So it's a fun episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And indeed, James Darren, by the way, all the songs James Darren sings in Deep Space Nine as Vic Fontaine are on YouTube. So,
cool.
if you want to listen to them, it's possible. Yeah, Vic Fontaine.
Of course, the best thing, one of my favorite things about Vic Fontaine, of course, is he's programmed to be a 1960s lounge singer who references 1960s pop culture all the time.
Yeah.
He referenced Liberace and Victor Borga just in this episode alone.
Yeah, and he talks like he's from the 1960s, which is also amazing. Murph, you got another one?
Sure. And to be fair, I mean, this is several hundred years in the future, right? I mean, a couple of decades at that time, might not mean a whole lot,
True.
It's true.
I guess I'll just mention this one. I mean, not many people have talked about it, but Far Beyond the Stars is a pretty good episode.
Well, you just mentioned my absolute favorite episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I know. I had to undersell it a little bit.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty forgettable episode. But Cisco has a vision where about what's his name, Benny Russell.
Yes,
is that right?
Yep.
Benny Russell in 1950s New York, who is a magazine writer, science fiction writer.
Yeah,
science fiction magazine. Yeah.
Yeah. In just my perspective on it, I will say I initially I was like, oh, this is fun. This is kind of like a mirror universe episode where it took me a minute to notice some of the cast because characters like Quark and even Odo don't look like themselves fully in this, but obviously you recognize Jadzia right away as other characters in this publishing house or magazine crew or whatever. And what's great about it is you're following Cisco's character as he struggles, deals with some racial tensions and things like that. Some police officers played by Dukat and Wei-Yun have their way with some of them, and it feels very heavy at times. And then kind of I guess the point of it is essentially if somebody in this position, in Benny Russell's position, can dream up such an amazing world that we're watching, essentially, and then the end of it comes back to Cisco, and he's maybe somewhere they're dreaming of him and he's dreaming of them, and it's really a touching deep,
Mhm.
poignant, a little too real world, episode that's really quite amazing. All the layers, once you delve deeper into the episode.
Yeah, and Avery Brooks, his acting in the final scene where he in the end, has to be taken away with the ambulance.
Hmm.
It's yeah, that he really peaked there. I've I don't. You're finished with season 7 right now. You can now watch that documentary that's on YouTube, "What We Left Behind," where they 25 years, 30 years after the end of 25 years after the end of Deep Space Nine, they come back, the crew and the cast and the writers and and actually they mentioned his acting in what happened during this episode.
Okay.
That he actually stayed like for 20 minutes or half an hour still in this. He was so deeply invested in his role in this
Hmm.
episode that he almost lost himself in this. And Avery Brooks is a special character as a person, and but he showed that he can act. There's sometimes some criticisms on Avery Brooks' acting, but I disagree with that. But and this episode proves that, and I absolutely adore this episode, and it's by far my favorite episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Tyler.
Yeah, Far Beyond the Stars is it's a great episode. My favorite parts of it, of course, is seeing all the actors out of makeup. Even the guy that plays Martok is in it. He's the artist who draws the pictures for the magazine.
Aaron Eisenberg is in it
Yeah.
as himself. He is the guy in the newsstand.
Yeah, Rom.
Nog.
Nog, excuse me, Nog. Yeah, and the other part, of course, is just the whole idea of what if this whole, well, I mean, it is a science fiction show, but what if this whole world we're watching is being written by this little the little science fiction magazine writer in the 1950s just writing it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Matrix, are we in a real
And
world or are we in someone's mind?
and thank God that in the 90s it wasn't so much of a big deal. But in the 1950s, a black captain on a space station was a big deal. And well, it shows that we have made some progress as mankind.
Absolutely. Did you want me to pick another one, or?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see.
Season 6, you can pick them all. I don't care.
Pick 'em all. Let's see. We did Tears of the Prophets. All right. Here, the most important episode of the season. In fact, maybe the most important episode of the entire series. Who Mourns for Morn?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Where
I knew you
the
were
most
gonna say
important character, Morn, fakes his own death to avoid paying some kind of debts with some latinum that he's been hiding in his extra stomach for who knows how many years or whatever.
He lost his hair because of it.
And we have a funeral where everyone talks about all their wonderful memories of Morn. And we didn't know about any of this stuff that everyone does with Morn. Apparently, Morn was everyone's best friend and compatriot and confidant.
And apparently he talks a lot. He doesn't shut up.
He will not shut up.
Yeah.
Hey, just a fun episode.
Yeah, and it was actually 2 episodes after the Magnificent Ferengi. So, when it comes to humor, they actually really nailed it as well this season. Well, yeah, I could mention other favorites of mine from this season, and then without really discussing them, like which was a great episode. Let's see. You're cordially invited, which
I
is
was
hilarious
just thinking
because
of that, the marriage one, yeah.
yeah, those guys think, oh, we're having a Klingon bachelor party. It's basically just pain, lots of food, but you cannot eat and stuff like that. Yeah, that's fun. Waltz is a great Dukat Cisco episode where they get stuck on an island. Yeah, I can keep on. Go on and on and on and on and on. And yeah, you have like Inquisition, which introduces Section 31, which is of course a great episode. And yeah, there are so many more. But you can't discuss them all. But Section 31, of course, leads to that amazing TV movie that's they brought out earlier this year, or was it last year already? Section
Yeah,
31.
I think it was last year.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Before we get into that, I also will ask my monthly question, Taylor. But I think I know the answer. Next month, we're going to do our top 10 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I saw Merv was already starting it and he brought the list down to 43. I don't know how
Yeah.
far you are along with that now, but I'm going to start with you, Taylor. Do you think that there will be episodes of season 6 in your top 10 list?
Yes.
I kind of knew that. And actually, for me as well, I will have season 6 episodes in my top 10 list. Merv, I can ask you. You will probably give the same answer.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably make all 10 from season 6, but it won't be. But
No,
yeah,
but you're absolutely right. You could
yeah,
make and there's nobody going to debate you if you pick 10 episodes from season 6. That's nonsense or anything. No, it's true. They're it's just that good of a season of television. They don't make them like this anymore. That will conclude this month's episode of the Star Trek Project. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. We sure did. If you did, you can help us out. Like, share, and subscribe, and join our forum at freeforums.net. We would love it if you do that. In episode 28 of the Star Trek Project next month, we will be discussing Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 7, where we will also reveal, all three of us, our top 10 list of favorite episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. You can check out our brand new review for The Punisher One Last Kill on the channel as well. And in a few weeks' time, we will have a brand new episode in our Infinity Saga Legacy series about Doctor Strange and much more to come. So, in other words, there's lots to look forward to. For now, I thank you all also on behalf of Merv and Taylor, and wish you to live long and prosper. Bye.